All right, Mark Speaks. Y'all know how I do cook these books with a whole new meaning. You ever argue with your lady, fellas, about something that is so obvious? I mean, it is as clear as day, black and white, and she just don't get it? Ladies, you ever arguing with your man about something that is so simple? I mean, simplicity all over it, and he just doesn't get it? Okay, we've all been there. I think I found the answer. Relativity, right? There's special relativity, relativity, and general relativity, Einstein's relativity. But I want to focus on just relativity because I think relativity scientifically answers and explains all of that. Now, the colloquial definition or the colloquial meaning that we give to each other, right? The colloquial things we'll say, women are emotional. That's why they don't get us. Women, from a woman's point of view, they'll say men are stupid or, you know, whatever. We don't have, you know, we're brutes, right? We're rough. We're ruffians. We don't get it. We're not, you know, they're the smart ones. We're the dumb ones. We're from, what is it? Men are from Mars. Women are from Venus. Something like that, right? So, but here's what relativity, I think I found some clarity in relativity because relativity says this, right? Einstein's relativity says if I'm sitting on a train and I'm traveling at 100 miles an hour on the train and I somehow was able to shoot a cannon while I'm on the train, and the cannonball is traveling at 100 miles per hour. And you ask me, while I'm sitting on the train, how fast is the cannonball going? My answer to you is going to be the cannonball is traveling at 100 miles per hour. Use your imagination here. I know, how do I get a cannonball on the train? I get it. It doesn't make sense, but you know, use your imagination. So if my woman is standing outside the train, she's sitting at the train station waiting for me or whatever, and you ask her the same question, you know, what speed is that cannonball traveling that your man just shot off or whatever? She's going to tell you, she's going to calibrate it, right? She's going to recalibrate. She's going to say, okay, the train is doing 100, the ball is doing 100. She's going to calibrate and she's going to say, okay, the ball is traveling at 200 miles per hour. Here we have an argument, right? We have a dissent. Wait a minute, babe. I say the ball's traveling at 100. She's going to say, no, it's traveling at 200. And then here we go, right? No, it's traveling at 200. You don't know what you're talking about? Babes, I'm telling you, it's traveling at 100. No, it's going at 200. You don't know what you're talking about? Babes, I'm telling you, you skipped a math class or something. You know what I'm saying? Now we start insulting each other. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Da, 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 da. I got A+ in math. You know what I'm saying? I'm being facetious here, but you guys see where I'm going with this, right? So now we have an argument spilling out of control, name calling, insults, and blah, blah, blah. Who knows? Might lead to a breakup or somebody cheating. I don't know. I'm just trying to tell you how I'm going extreme with it. But stay with me here. But here's what relativity says. Relativity says you guys are both right. Einstein comes in and says both of you guys are right. And then y'all both turn around and look at Einstein like, what he talking about? He crazy. But that's where relativity comes in. You guys are both are correct. And the theory behind relativity, the idea, the rationale behind it is your woman told the answer that the ball is traveling at 200 miles per hour based off her vantage point, based off her frame of reference. Her frame of reference is the environment in which she's in, which is the train station. It's stationary. She's not moving. You, on the other hand, you're on the train. You're motile, meaning you have motion. The train that you're on is traveling at 100 miles an hour. When you're stationary in the train, but yet you're still moving with the train. So from your perspective, you're absolutely right. The ball is traveling at 100 miles an hour. But from your woman's perspective, because she's stationary, she's not moving, she's immovable, she's sitting there. She's going to calibrate that the train is doing 100, the ball is traveling 100, so the ball's got to be net speed is 200 miles per hour. And technically speaking, she's completely correct. And technically speaking, you're completely correct. So this is where relativity comes in and shows you that two people can be completely correct, but yet disagree only because of their frame of reference, which is one person is in motion on the train, another person is completely stationary. And that dictates what they observe. I'll say it again. One person is in motion, the other person is completely stationary. and that dictates what they observe. So take that and apply that to your relationship. A lot of times we get in arguments, and if we're smart enough to think like this, we can understand that she might not necessarily be wrong, and I might not necessarily be wrong. It could be just our frame of reference, right? Our frame of reference is not the train or the stationary, but it'd be in any natural sense. It could just be your frame of reference is how you were raised, right? The psychological framework that was developed in you over your years. Doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. It's just your vantage point is different from my vantage point, and my vantage point is different from your vantage point. So it's not a zero-sum game. I don't have to win. You don't have to lose in order for me to win, and vice versa. So a lot of times if we took the time out to just kind of like understand each other a little bit more and understand the motivation, where the person is coming from, their frame of reference, their vantage point, then we would have less arguments. I'm not saying we wouldn't argue at all. We're still going to find something to fight about. But what I'm saying is we would just have less fights, less arguments, less misunderstandings. And the less arguments and less fights, less misunderstandings you have, the healthier your relationship. That's just net zero. That's a net. That's a wash. That's a fact. The less arguments you have in your relationship, the more viable your relationship is, the more sustainable your relationship, the healthier. Okay? So, excuse me. So relativity, when we understand the theory, the rationale, the science behind relativity, special relativity is a little different. Special relativity just says it doesn't, I'm going to sum it up. Special relativity says, in a nutshell, the laws of physics does not care or depend upon your vantage point or your frame of reference. In other words, the sun is always going to rise. Gravity is always going to throw you to the floor if you jump out of a window. Doesn't matter how high the building is. If you jumped out of 10, 20, 30 story, you're still going to fall down. Like the speed of light is always 186,000 miles per second. Doesn't matter if you're sitting on a train or if you're sitting at a train station. The speed of light is constant. So there's a constancy in physics. That's what special relativity is. But that's not really what I wanted to hone in on in terms of like how we interact with each other. Because if we understand relativity and we really apply that principle into our lives, I'm telling you, your fights in your relationships will begin to mitigate, lessen, right? You will begin to weaken the negative effects of arguments in your relationships. You'll weaken, you'll undermine, you'll innervate, which means to weaken. You'll innervate, undermine, and mitigate the arguments that you guys have. And again, the less arguments you have, the better your odds are at surviving. You know, the better your odds are at making it. Because God knows, we all know these things are not easy, relationships. And no man, no one person have the answer, y'all. No one book. You know, I read a book, so no. Talked about this in my last video. You can't read no book about relationships. You got to be in it. That's it. All right, so till next time, y'all know what I'm going to be doing. Cooking up these books and bring you the info. Peace.